Hi, and welcome to the Do Something Indy show. It is Wednesday night, 8 p.m., and this is episode 38, and you're probably wondering, what the heck are you wearing that mask for? I said, well, I'm wearing this mask because a previous guest, Wendy Jenkins, she has a print shop, and she made me these beautiful masks, and this is one of them right here, and you can take that off, and I have another one with this design over here or wherever it is. And then actually I have a third one that is on there. And there you go. 3 masks. And if that doesn't keep the corona out, nothing will. So I just want to give a shout out to Wendy Jenkins. She's a previous person that's been on our show. And she has Jenkins Corner. And she's trying to get back after the COVID because she had between 15 and 20 after school kids over in the Brookside neighborhood. But that's not what our show's about tonight. Tonight I have a special guest, and this is part of our series of understanding race relations. I'm just going to say it's just a listening session. Best thing we can do right now is to listen to each other. So without any further ado, let's get to that interview with Greg Meriweather. Hi, this is John Schmitz for Do Something Indy, and I'm down here at the City County building, and I got yet another special guest. I know you get tired of me saying that, but this guy, we've sort of seen each other on social media for a while, and I've been wanting to have an interview with him, and so we talked on the phone briefly, but this is pretty much our first meeting, so who knows where this will go. This is either going to be famous or disaster, or somebody's going to be barred from Facebook. I don't know.
That's it, one or the other.
But that's how. So this is Greg Meriweather. I'm going to let him introduce himself and say it, and just give us a little background.
Yeah, Greg Meriweather. I've been in Indianapolis pretty much all my life. Washington High School graduate, football, basketball player, Marion University graduate. But always been here. My position has always been to be a voice in Indianapolis. So all my life, no matter what I did in corporate America, I've always remained a voice. Just recently, I was the Strategic Initiatives Liaison for IMPD, but I run Greg Meriweather Consulting, and my consulting is focused on bringing change in the community. So I work a lot with leaders to try to implement ideas to bring change.
Well, I'm sure glad you took time to be on the Do Something Indy, because I think you're stepping down to our low budget people, but I'm honored to have you on here.
Thank you.
Give me a little bit of background of what a community effort might look like with the Greg Meriweather Consulting Group.
You know, for me, a community effort, I'm all about change. I'm not status quo. I think that's the biggest challenge that I face in the business that I do, is that I challenge leaders to get outside of the box. And also, you know, when I look at certain things, you know, I believe that there are things you can do in the community that help you for the time. But then I'm like, what's the cause of it being that way, and how can we change that so that people don't have to, like feeding people. I want people to be able to feed themselves more so than I would want someone saying we're feeding people.
Yeah, we're down here tonight. It's about 4:30, and at 5:30 there'll be refuge place will be serving some homeless folks out here, and that's a situation that seems to be getting worse. And one of the things you mentioned outside, you know, we were talking off camera about our elected officials. They want to stay in this giant city county building and not get out in the community.
Absolutely.
And anybody that knows me, I've harped on our community leaders getting out with the people, and you know, that's what really needs to happen, and I don't really see that. Is that something you might agree with?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you need to, and it's not, I want to see them come out the building, and it's not for show. To come out, I want to see genuine care and concern for people, where it's like, you know, it's just your natural way of being, and you say, I want to make this place better, and I don't need the cameras, and I don't need someone to put it on my schedule. Come out the building and go see your citizens, go see your constituents,
Yeah,
and help them.
It did seem like we had a while there after the riots and everything. Everybody went just sort of, oh, let's let it all settle down. Then we'll come out when it's safe.
Yeah.
And to me, a leader should be out there at the very start. And I know you were out there. You're up at 62nd Street.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've almost bumped into each other at several of these rallies and events that we've been there.
Yeah.
And we rarely see an elected official.
I agree.
I would think that would be the best time to talk to somebody.
I agree. I think that you need to see elected officials. I think that there are key officials that you should see. I definitely think you should see your chairman of crime prevention, your city county council.
Yeah,
I think you need to see those people, because if you're gonna, how are you effective if you're never around it?
How do you know what's going on? That's what I say. If you cannot have your ear to the ground unless you put your ear on the ground.
That's real.
And you just, that's what I don't see. I see people that are just protective of their job and their position.
Correct.
And maybe they wanted to get elected to that. And really our system's sort of messed up in that way, because you work so hard to get elected. When you get elected, it's like crossing the finish line. You don't feel like doing anything. You just like, oh, I got elected.
Yeah, the notoriety.
And then we get a mayor that gets 72% elected, and then he really doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah,
so,
it's tough.
But we'll see. It seems like, to me, maybe I'm wrong, it seems like they let things get, they create a problem, and then they work themselves in as the solution.
Correct.
And to me, being proactive would be a better thing.
Yeah. I think prevention has been thrown out the window. Yeah. For some odd reason, we're always working on the backside as opposed to getting in front of stuff, stopping things before they happen. One of the things that kind of gets me is it's always the same players, the same people with the same ideas at the table. And when you realize that that's not working, it's like it's time to basically bring about some change to where people are able to then say, where's another voice, where's another change, or where's someone who can actually bring some change? And we haven't had that yet.
Yeah, and I see, and I've watched some of your stuff, and I looked at some of your stuff, and I think you would be an agent for change. You were in the inside, and
Correct.
Then you basically were not being listened to, and you
Correct.
said, hey, I'm not going to participate in this. And to me, that's somebody with integrity. And that's one of the first things that drew me to want to talk to you, is because you're a guy that's not just in this for the lip service. You're not in this
Right.
for the prestige. You're in this for legitimate change. You grew up on the west side a little bit, and, you stayed in town, and you're still here. And you're a guy that I would say, I'm going to do a plug for you, that would be a good safety director, or somebody that would be out and about and making sure that things we're done. So, we talked about this in our conversation before about what you like to do.
Yeah.
And tell us what you think.
I mean,
would
I
be a
think
good
there are
thing.
a few things, in the upcoming years. I'd love to work, if they want a public safety director, I would love to do something like that. Being that I was in the position of working directly next to Chief Roach during his tenure as IMPD's chief, I was involved in a lot of things. And so I learned a lot from being with him. And I think that even still, there are some people I still talk to that ask for my advice. There are counselors who would never admit that ask for my advice. But when it's all said and done, that would be one thing. I would love to, and not saying take his position, but the deputy mayor of neighborhoods. I mean, I think that's a position that I thought was going to be a position where it was a person in the ear of the mayor to bring about change and equity for the black community, especially since there's been a black man in that position more than once. I'm like, are these people, what are these people there for if they can't implement anything?
Yeah,
they can't give any backlash.
They're
if they
for show.
Can't fight for exactly.
Just for show. And
it saddens me, because both of the people who I've seen in that position, as of the recent ones, were very active people when they weren't, and all of a sudden they didn't. All of a sudden they weren't as active as they were.
Yeah, it's almost like complacency sets in. As soon as you get that position, it's like,
yeah.
Well, now I got.
Or you're blocked. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
that could be true too. You maybe you don't have free reign to be able to do that, and that's what micromanaging, and that doesn't really help anything.
I agree.
So let's reflect on some of your what was some of the highlights when you were in with the public office in that position, and tell me some of the lowlights. Let's go with the highlights first, because it's a positive show.
When I first started out, I was consulting for IMPD, and I sat through the whole Aaron Bailey situation, and in that, It was good because I was in one of the first meetings when it all went down, and I was I was a very loud person as an
Really?
actor, and I said one of the first things we have to do is educate the community. I was like, who knows what the mayor can do? Who knows what the prosecutor can do? Who knows what the merit board is? Who knows? So that's when, and he probably doesn't know this, but that's when the mayor then said, train the trainer. Okay, so you had that. I sat through that. When you had the situation where the young man was punched on the steps of Shortridge High School.
Oh yeah.
And I really pushed them to terminate this officer. They weren't going to. They actually put him on administrative leave. And,
I believe, going back to that, I believe that is the root of where we are now.
Correct.
And I really do, because that seemed like it was like, oh,
yeah,
this set this precedent. Now it's okay.
Yeah.
And
I remember
forward to
pushing.
now.
Yeah, and all of a sudden now you look and it's like, man, we should have been doing this some way. But I think that there's just been so many areas where it didn't get to the news. Things where Chief Roach gave me free rein to say, oh, we got a complaint or a problem, and I said, let me handle it, and he just let me handle it. So it didn't become a public media issue or anything on the news. It was just like, I had the meeting, I call him, I say it's done.
Yeah.
And we rode like that for the whole time he was here.
Yeah, you can honestly see the difference from when Chief Roach was here and when he was gone, and I mean you could just see the results. My question to anyone, our viewers or anybody, is when is enough enough? I mean, you hear Rick Snyder saying enough, but it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of, let's use this Rick Snyder, outcry.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of band-aids, because when it's all said and done, I think what we have to be willing to address is how the mentality of the people has been changed to actually, even black people, the mentality has been changed to actually make money off the pain as opposed to fix the problem.
Yeah. That is a
so
big
now
one.
you've got all these organizations, all these groups, everybody is looking and they're saying, oh, there's money out there, but it isn't necessarily money to change the problem. I challenge people all the time with this, with the crime prevention fund. I say, okay, you have a family, you've got 5 people in your household. They give you $50,000. That's a struggling family if nobody else is working. But they give these advocates and activists $50,000 and say, go fix your whole neighborhood. And somebody has created this mentality of saying it's possible. And at this point, we have to realize that it's not possible. One, they're not paying the people who actually do the job, like the peacekeepers or whatever they're called, the community resource people, coordinators. They don't pay them well. When I was at a meeting in New York, those people were making $60,000 and $70,000.
A living wage.
Yeah, a living wage. They had big, gigantic budgets of over $10 million to actually fight crime. Here, it's pennies.
Yeah,
it's actual pennies. So when it's all said and done, the people you want to do the job, you want them to struggle too. And I'm like, when do we get serious about this and bring about real change? The people who are doing the work in this building that actually have to go out, call people, help people. They're one slip up away from actually being the person that they're helping.
Right, and I say quite often that there's about almost up to half of our population right now is one emergency away from losing everything.
That's real.
I mean, you got your health or your fire or your job loss.
Yep.
And
70% of black people live within 30% of being in poverty.
Right, and speaking of poverty, I want to shift gears a little bit. I think a lot of the race is a big issue right now. And I think what really the race is an overtone towards poverty, because it seems like, yeah, sure, if you're black, Hispanic, a minority, yeah, that's an issue, but it's really socioeconomical. It really is. If you're poor, you can't get through a system. So say you get
being
pulled
poor
over
is
for something.
expensive.
Yeah, that's what I say. I said, but think about it. If you don't have an account, you got to pay to get your check
Absolutely.
cashed. You mostly go to convenience stores, which you pay at $2 for a Coke. If you're late on your fees, you get extra charges.
I mean, it is the only thing you get a break on is your little hoopty you're driving because there's no excise tax on it, right?
And
I mean,
exactly, and which brings us to today. I mean, you think about all the rules that are being put into play right now during this COVID-19 explosion. Now you have the BMV that says if you're late on your plates or this, you're going to get more fines. Who's that going to impact? The poor. Or if you don't have a mask on or social distancing, now you get up to $1,000 fine and up to 6 months in jail. Who's it going to impact?
Well, but that's sort of interesting because they came out with that rule, the governor did, and then the attorney general said, "Hey, no bueno, because you can't make laws."
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I've been saying since day one. They should have called a special session. That's what you do. The legislator, we need the 100 in the House and the 50 in the Senate to make the law, and then the governor does it. Not just, oh well, let's just let the governor do this because we're afraid to meet or whatever. No. Yeah, I'm calling out you people in the House and Senate because it's ridiculous. You're supposed to be our leaders. You're supposed to be brave.
I agree.
When everybody else is hiding in their basement, not hiding in the basement with them.
Yeah.
So what's up?
I agree. It definitely has to change because when you look at this thing, that was one of my questions on Facebook today. I was like, so when you make these announcements and these rules, when you look at the disproportionate amount of black and brown people who are in prison, who are you talking to when you're talking about who's going to jail?
Yeah, and when you talk about somebody getting a felony, whatever color, you get a felony, I think that you go and do that time, that should be a sponge from the public because I'm in construction, I hire felons, I'm capable, I'm set up to do that. Now, I would love to tell you I have a lot of great stories about hiring felons. I don't have some. Yeah. I have a few that are good, but generally it's tough business.
Yeah.
But these folks get compromised because they have to put in that I have a felony on there.
Exactly.
It's almost like when you
you never served the time.
Yeah, I think once you serve that time, it's done.
It's done.
If forgiveness could go a long way. So then you're compromising these people, so they go and they do something that's maybe not so legal.
What's even worse is you're compromising the people. You're compromising the people, and you're setting them up. You're setting them up to fail again, because all of a sudden you can't get housing. If you get drug charges, you can't get student loans, and all these things that are prohibiting someone from moving forward. And it's like, if you serve that time, man, something should be put in legislation where that's it.
I think
you shouldn't have to live with it.
I really think, and that's one of the things that I would like to do in this state is, once you serve your time, that is a sponge from the public.
I agree.
But now, if you get in trouble again, guess what? We're going to bring that back out again, and we're going to look at it, and it's going to be a problem because
we have to add a caveat to that, because we've got to do the legwork to make it possible for people not to keep going through the cycle.
Yeah, just to keep
on. That's the real thing, is because there's so much money in recidivism.
Oh yeah,
It's just so much money in recidivism.
This city-county building didn't get built because of honest people or
exactly.
Courthouses. It's like Vegas. All those lights didn't come from winners.
Yeah, exactly.
If you look at these fancy marble courthouses and these attorneys, that money comes from somewhere. And you get into this system, you get an ankle bracelet. I think we have like 30,000 people on house arrest in Marion County.
Super expensive.
And that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the criminal justice center, the new one. I see you already, because you and me think a lot alike on some of this stuff. So I would love to hear your opinion on that. Now, I'll go first just to throw out the ball.
Sure.
I talk to a lot of black people that they feel like that's being built for them.
I agree with them.
All right, well, that was an easy conversation. No, I'm not letting you off the hook that easy.
No, I think that, it's very difficult in the black community to hear criminal justice.
Yeah, it's like jumbo shrimp.
Yeah,
right?
it's like an oxymoron. Yeah. And it's like, so you build this fancy place to house black people once again, and then when you think about the companies that all the city county councilors done some stuff, but the core civics and all those people who have made a killing off of making sure people got locked up, it's like, how is it justice?
Yeah.
And then how is it, and why is it necessary? Why is it necessary? You don't know. No, I don't care how clean a prison is. It's a prison.
Oh yeah, it's
at the end of the day, it's a jail or whatever.
Ask Martha Stewart. She got to go to the nice spin still. It was prison, right?
But when it's all said and done, your freedom is being taken away. And not only that, the way this system is set up, again, going back to what we were talking about, your character is being assassinated. It's like it's like you're dead for life.
You're told you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And not only you're not good enough, but we don't care what happens to you when you get out.
And basically, it's a term. It's civil leader mortuus, which it's a legal term. Once you go in and you get the felony, which means you're civilly dead. It means you're never alive again.
Right. I mean, you can't own a gun. You can't do this. Now, they used to have the rumor out you couldn't vote.
Right.
But that's not really. If you're in prison,
yeah.
you can't vote. But if you're, if you can. So it's a way of oppressing people. Is
I
that
agree.
what you would not say?
I agree.
So my thought is that we should have, and one thing, we need more male mentors, regardless of race.
I agree.
And when I say that, I would say that we need more people, more one-on-one with people, and that's very hard to do because it's tough. I mean, it's tough because it takes time and it takes money, and I know a lot of people are working hard just to make it.
That's real.
And to come home and to go dive into somebody else's problems,
yeah,
it takes a special kind of dummy, right?
And in a black household, it's like you go and try to mentor, and you haven't solved the problems of your own home or your own community, and it's like it's almost like you're being it because it's necessary, but at the same time, I mean, what does it look like for a stressed out guy trying to mentor a kid who's going through hell too? It's like they're in the same. They're both needing help, and at that point, it's like we have to fight for we have to fight so that there's hope in that community, in the black community, because I mean we do our best with trying to build something and help, and the few of us that actually make something, what I would say super great happen, it's like those are far and few between. And I'm not an advocate for continuously bringing Colts and Pacers because I know that the chance of them becoming that is not great. And so therefore,
I didn't make it.
And therefore, I'm like, find some guys that you can get in front of to say, hey, I'm a business owner, and yes, it was hard, but I'm still thriving, and I came from the same place you come from. But 9 times out of 10, even this system, they don't want that.
No,
they don't want kids to see guys like me.
No, they do not. They don't like you, or they don't like me for sure, because we cannot be bought. And
right,
that's
I'm
why
not a conformist.
I go back to the part where you gave up your position because it was unbecoming to you.
Sure.
And these are the type of folks that I'm looking to try to get together, because I don't see our political parties having any time to change anytime soon.
No. And I don't think they want it. I think again. When you try to talk to them and bring ideas and things to the table, it's almost like it's illegal.
Yeah.
It's like you can't give them anything, or you can. They'll take anything if it's great. They'll take it.
Yeah.
They'll never give you credit. But at the same time, it's like they don't even. When you look and say, all right, who are they putting on these committees? That's not known to our community. We don't really know that stuff. And like, how do these people get on the committees? And then you take a guy like me and say, hey, I want to do it. And of course, I could do it. No.
Yeah. Well,
why? Because it's all
you might
about,
fix it too fast.
You might fix it.
You might fix it. And
you may push back. And I've never seen a system. I've only been in this system. But it just disturbs me that we have a system in this city with black people on it who believe that they should not get pushed back in those positions, if they're autonomous.
Would this be fair to say? I've noticed that when people get in that position, they sort of don't look in the rearview mirror at where they came from. Is that a fair assessment?
The challenging thing, and it's ironic, but Dr. Claude Anderson said it about black politicians a while ago. He said, by the time black politicians take the oath to go into office, they've already violated it because they've forgotten their constituency the moment they take it. And when you look at it and you see the votes and you go to these council meetings and you see the votes and how things that uphold white supremacy get unanimous votes. It's nothing to give Bankers Life $350 million, but it's challenging to fix the food desert issue.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'm like, how is that even so? And how did anyone vote unanimously on one and not the other? Because I'm telling you, if you ask me, if I have to vote, if I know I have poor people in my community and I can say yes to giving $350 million to anybody, it's gonna be my community first.
Yeah, and it's I go around everywhere. I was actually I was working today at the 56th and Meridian on a house. They're putting they put a new window in, and I as I'm working, I'm laying bricks around this window, and I see people out running and jogging, and I think what a little utopia community this
absolutely.
is, and it's like. The yards are all manicured, the flowers are all pretty,
Yeah.
and then I wonder what's the difference between this and my old hood 42nd and which is see what you just said, or and I would say Mars Hill, but Mars Hill's getting better.
Yeah.
I mean, our people are representing.
Yeah.
So I said, well, the whole city's sort of going in the dumpster now. Mars Hill's not, and I'm like, okay, why is that?
Yeah.
Well, it's because there's somebody there that's on the ground that cares, that's giving people hope.
Yeah, and I think you got to fight for that. I think the other thing is this. I mean, I think that we still have to look at the people. Because we know how Mars Hill is set up. We kind of know, but at the same time, I think that at some point, if the Caucasian community unifies together, even if they're poor, the opportunity is still a little skewed. It's a little different because we can do the same thing, and it's like, I don't know, 42nd. It's almost like the government waits to say, do we want that land yet? If they,
let's get it so bad nobody
wants it, and then we can buy it cheap.
They're doing that right now.
And flip it. And
Brentwood.
So,
I owned a condo there from about 88 to 94 or 5,
yeah.
and mine's still standing there. But all they're doing is, and Mr. Anthony, he's a friend of mine. He lives at 40th on the curve, and I met when I was campaigning for mayor. I just wanted to drive through there, and I saw him out in the yard, and the dude's still living there. But there's another place that's about halfway in between my old place and his place that there is squatters in that I can pretty much go anywhere. I'm not scared, and I won't go there because it's like they start giving me that look like, hey, this is our, there ain't no law up in here.
Yeah.
You come here, you may not get out, But the city's buying those units up. They're waiting until they get so super cheap.
That's real.
And I heard the mayor make a comment about the Justice Center. He said there's an 80-acre plot there that's decided. He says, what are we going to do with that? Just that's his attitude. Like, what are we going to do with that to make some money for somebody?
Of course.
And I just sort of thought, that's interesting. And
it's unfortunate because. Especially as a black man, and you see black people involved in it, and you're like, where's the fight and where's the pushback? And and then as you go upward, towards the 25th floor, it upsets you when you're like, do you have black people around you just to have them as a prop, and not as a voice?
Pimping them out, baby.
And not allowing them to, speak out or do what's necessary. Because if not now, with the temperature this high on race relations, if not now, when?
Yeah, I mean,
it's almost like the window is closing for that.
Yeah.
So it's like you've got to stop being afraid of hearing the truth from black people. And I think that was one of the things that I experienced on the inside is not being liked, because I was like, there's nothing you can do, say, or me that will prohibit me from speaking the truth
mind.
From my perspective.
Yeah, and see, that's what people say, well, why do you have so-and-so? I got some people that just give me heck all the time.
Yeah.
So why do you keep them around? I said, but that's what makes us stronger.
Exactly.
That's what we have to have competition. And you can see that in our political process, all the way up from the president to here. We had really no choice of who was going to be mayor last time. We didn't have a choice. The Republicans had an awful candidate, and did you feel like there was a choice when you were in the
I didn't. I didn't feel like there was a choice. Well, man, again, another thing that disappointed me is the fact that he was one of the first people to ask for me to get fired, which was bad for.
What'd you do?
Out the gate.
What'd you do?
When I said something about 10-point coalition. And so I was on the news for like 5 days over. And you know what's crazy? I was on the news for 5 days about my comment about 10-point coalition, but no one said anything when I was the person that sent the picture about 38th and Arlington, and they gave credit to Charles Harrison. And I reached back to that news center and I said, no, he didn't do that. I was the source of that picture. And they said, can we still use a picture without saying your name?
I hope you said no.
I said no. And I said, well, why would you not want to use my name? And they responded, it's complicated. So when I saw that, I realized that there was something going on. You had the news recognize three things, shall I say. the news recognized the mural or the Black Lives Matter being painted on Indiana Avenue, right? The council passed that. You saw another mural on 56th and Shadeland or something from a company that they painted this mural. You saw the news talk about that. What was the other one? Something else. Can't think of it. But you never heard the news talk about Valedictorian Day.
I never heard of it.
It was the first. There's never been a Valedictorian Day. If you look all around the country, I don't think if there are any. It's not even a national day. But when we talk all this stuff about education, and my reason for pushing for Valedictorian Day was actually a selfish reason. I grew up a kid who did great in school, but I was never recognized for my brain. I was deemed academically talented and gifted in the 4th grade. Had to go to a whole different school. Then, once I became an athlete, I got way more respect for being an athlete. So I was like, I could be a C student. And I was loved in my community, recognized in my school, the whole 9. But for my brain, it was silence.
Well,
and we have to understand what that does to the African American community. Because all of a sudden, they're saying there's still more worth from your body than your brain. And to me, that's slavery. And so I wanted all these organizations, the Expo, Urban League, NAACP, even the schools, to say, oh, now we start a foundation in the black community. Because now you've got 6 or 7 young black kids who are actually achieving academic excellence that you should support. That becomes our way of getting a 40 under 40 and not the IBJs. And then we start saying, okay, let's build on that. It never hit the news. It never hit the news.
It's like they want to suppress that.
Exactly.
It's like they just want to suppress people that aren't in that power structure, that don't fit their narrative.
Correct.
And if you say something against it, you're an outsider.
You're outsider.
And that's how I feel that way too, because
vindictive.
If there was anybody, let's say there was somebody from the people up in the 25th floor, if there was anybody that was doing what we're doing in Mars Hill with the Arts Center and the race relations and all that, they'd be out there kissing our rings and stuff.
Absolutely.
Now, I'll challenge you out there in the viewer land. When's the last time you've even seen anything in Mars Hill other than our little protest we did about the interracial couple?
Yeah.
And it was only covered by one state. When's the last time you've seen anything like that?
Yeah.
And this is a place that has results.
Yeah.
Like I said, our property values are on the way to triple value than what they were when we started there 5 years ago. We haven't had any murders. Now I'm starting to sound like Charles Harrison. In 4 summers, 4 summers, we haven't had any. It was drug-related, double shooting 2 blocks from our art center. No murders. Our crime is about, what it is, average anywhere. We still have some drug issues, but for the most part, our neighborhood is improving. We got people moving in that aren't gentrifying. They're actually moving to stay and to keep their stuff good. So why don't we celebrate the valedictorians or the Mars Hills? And it's not just us. I mean, it's our people that have got hope.
Absolutely.
It's that valedictorian.
That's
it's
what
got
it's about.
hope.
It's establishing a system of hope. And it's unfortunate that in this building, you've got more people trying to suppress hope through saying they're doing something. By a program. As opposed to saying, oh, let's establish some level of hope. And then freedom. I mean, the freedom to say, okay, we got to build some equity and some equality in here. So here we have it, that someone is saying, hey, we got to recognize that black people are smart too. And the way we got it done is by saying, well, having a great brain is just having a great brain. Black, white, brown, yellow, who cares? But we're in it. And that was the whole point, is saying, now we've got something to stand on to say, okay, we can support that black brilliance. But instead, the people in there, the counselors who look like me, don't want to recognize the fact that I brought
Greg,
that to
I'll
the
tell you
table.
what, this is the Do Something Indie show. I recognize your talent, all right?
Well,
I'm going to say that.
It.
Now, we're going to do one more thing here. We're going to wind this up. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is the different layers in the black community. Could you help me with that? I go around to different places. I hear somebody complain about Charles Harrison. I hear somebody complain about, the deputy mayor, or I hear them say, oh, I love the deputy mayor, or whatever. So what do you think about, how do we all get on the same page, or how do you think that gets brought together? Wow. I don't see it right now.
Well, I think that That's a very good question.
I got a good question, Ed. Thank you.
But I think that, what has happened is, I said something today on my Facebook Live. I said, everyone can't do it, but everyone can do something. And I think that right now there's this system of everyone can do it. And so we've got a lot of people who are believing that they're leaders simply because they have whatever following them. I don't know how, but unless you're watching something progress, get better, you may be a person that can, you may be a person that can be in the midst of it. But I think that what we lost in our community were leaders, and I think we took that away through progress. And here's why I'll say this: this is
okay.
Good.
We're getting to the good part.
So, in the Caucasian world, it'll say Da Vinci was a great inventor, and they'll say he's the best at this time, and then they'll say, well, Edison was great, or let's go back, Franklin was great. They say he's the greatest at this time. Then they'll say, well, Edison was this, and then they'll say Bell is this, and then get to Bill Gates is this, and then you say, well, Steve Jobs is this, and then you say Elon Musk is this. In the black community, they say there will be no more. So all of a sudden, there will be no more Martin Luther Kings, there will be no more Malcolm X's, there will be no more Medgar Evers, there will be no more Michael Jordan.
Thomas
and you
Sowell.
Stifle the possibility.
And some other people that really have the best interest in mind.
Absolutely, I think that that's where it starts, because there has to be an unorthodox group coming together. Because when it's an unorthodox group, and you say a Mars Hill guy with the Hallville guy, and so on and so forth, and people who are not afraid to say, that was wrong, or hey, gee, have you thought about this, and not be so offended that you can't get anything done. And I think that that's how we end up making it work.
Yeah, and I
when
think we need to,
when unorthodox groups come together and say, no, I don't have to eat off that.
And then get rid of our excuses. Whatever that excuse is, if it's a race, you get rid of the excuse, let's get down to business.
That's real.
So, I mean, I've gone around and I'm meeting people that have good interests in mind, and I don't know where that's going. But right. I'll tell you, I'm trying to run for office in the House, and I'm sick of politics, and that's sad. I mean, You should want to try to help. I just feel like I'm just wasting my time.
Like politics, I don't know. It became something so different. Once I guess it became so different with money and all this stuff. But I think that was politics was supposed to be the ultimate service for your community.
Yeah, service.
Exactly, and it has turned into this thing that says I get to have power and leverage, and if I don't want to talk to you, if I don't want to deal with you, if I don't want to work for you, you voted me in, and that was it. And we can't have that anymore.
And the big old cold shoulder.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore. That's unacceptable.
So stay tuned to see what we have planned, because something's going down. I told folks before I did this interview, a couple of my friends, I said, this is either going to be genius or a disaster. But I knew it would be good. So,
I enjoyed it.
And we're gonna expand on it. I mean, that's just the bottom line. So, like I said, if you watch some of the other shows, I don't care if you're white, black, a Martian, or whatever. If you got your heart in the right place, we want you, and we want your differing opinion. We don't want a bunch of same opinions. That makes for boring meetings.
That's real.
If we don't throw something at somebody in a meeting, it wasn't a good meeting.
Ben Franklin, if everybody's thinking alike, then nobody's thinking.
That's right.
I agree.
Well, hey, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this segment of Do Something Indy, and stay tuned for our next week's guest is going to be Alan Bridwell. He's with Charity House out in Mars Hill, and that is a reacclimation house that's going to take addiction people and put them in housing and get them some treatment. So stay tuned for that, and we'll just keep doing good things for our community, and go out and do something. All right, I really enjoyed that interview. It felt like we only talked for about 15 minutes, and we almost covered 40 minutes. And this is a good discussion. You could see we just sat there and we talked about what was on our minds, and we didn't get upset with each other. And honestly, that's the first time I've sat down with Greg.
And I think he's a guy that has a good head on his shoulders and is willing to reach out to others and figure this out. And this is just part of my quest to figure it out. And I find that listening without commenting sometimes is the best thing we can do. Just listen to see what somebody else is struggling with. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. Stay tuned for our episode next week. We're going to have Alan Bridwell with the Charity House here in Mars Hill. They're doing something special over there with Charity Church. So I hope you'll tune in for that. And hey, everybody get out there in your community and do something. So see you next week.